Oh, Ruth Dyson. The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Thank you. I'm delighted to speak in the Statutes Amendment Bill, but I regret that I have to start my contribution by correcting my colleague. I totally support his supplementary order paper number 191, which inserts into the Statutes Amendment Bill the Airport Authorities Act 1966 alteration. But the bill that he's trying to get off our order paper in order to save the taxpayer thousands and thousands of dollars and Parliament hours and hours of time is not about lost luggage. The airline companies themselves deal with lost luggage. So if you're flying Air New Zealand and you arrive in Auckland and they say, "Welcome to Auckland, Mr. Fafoy, your bag is in Invercargill," Air New Zealand will get your bag from Invercargill to Auckland for you, because that's what they do when they accept you at check-in, putting in your bag. This bill, yes it is. Sorry, Sarah Dowie has just offered to collect your bag from Invercargill Airport, Mr. Fafoy, and take it to her. She's a generous young woman. So the members' bill that is going to waste hours of time and which should be in the Statutes Amendment Bill is about lost property. So if you leave your comb or your book or your pen at the cafe or somewhere else within the airport, that's what this deals with. So it's not just insignificant because it deals with lost luggage, it's even more insignificant because it doesn't even deal with lost luggage. Mr. Chairman, I want to go back to the point of Statutes Amendment Bill. It's a very unusual process and one that I think as Parliament we should really value. The point of Statutes Amendment is to make changes. It's an omnibus bill because there's a whole lot of acts that are changed, but each change to each different act has to be minor, it has to be technical, and it has to be non-controversial. That's the point of a Statutes Amendment Bill. So while Parliament takes a lot of effort, particularly at committee stage, to ensure that the details of the bill that we're considering is right, often we get it wrong. So a Statutes Amendment Bill gives us the opportunity to correct an error, mainly a drafting error, or an inconsistency, so that the law reads as it was intended. So that's the point of a Statutes Amendment Bill, and that's the criteria that it has to meet. As members will have noted in our second reading, which I'll just briefly refer to, some of the provisions in the original legislation didn't meet that criteria, and we peeled them off as separate bills during the debate. So it's now the opportunity for the Committee of the whole House to go through that same deliberation and make sure that I think it's 28 bills, minus the 2 that we took out, so 26 bills that we're proposing to amend in this Statutes Amendment Bill are indeed correct and that we've got it right. We shouldn't confuse this process, Statutes Amendment, with statute repeal, which has quite a different criteria, and bills recently have gone through the House where the bill is actually repealed. So statutes repeal actually repeals an entire act, presumably because they're redundant, but the criteria seems to be looser than statutes amendment, and I think that's something that the Standing Orders Committee might like to look at. I don't think it's appropriate, for example, for a statutes repeal bill to be used to take away a piece of legislation because the current government doesn't like it. We've got a process for that, and it's not, in my view, it shouldn't be a statutes repeal bill. I referred to the supplementary order paper of Chris Fafoy, and even though he exaggerated the scope of his SOP and of the members' bill that it seeks to replace, I also want to commend the supplementary order paper of David Seymour. That's not a move that I take very often in debates in this House. David Seymour is actually doing exactly the same thing as Chris Fafoy, but on a different bill. He's proposing that the nonsense legislation, the time-wasting and money-wasting legislation of Matt Ducey is replaced by a supplementary order paper. I hope that the member has noticed that yet again, twice in 1 week, I am commending something that he has done. This is a bit of a risk to both our reputations, but the member David Seymour's supplementary order paper would save the
I think we've
taxpayers
had
a lot
enough.
of money, Mr Chairman.
David Seymour.
Mr. Chair.